Hello, everyone. Today, I am going to speak about one of the most influential personal finance books of our time, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, by Robert Kiyosaki. This book is not just about money, it is about financial education, mindset, and the way we think about wealth. It takes readers on a journey that contrasts two very different approaches to money. One from the author's own father, whom he calls his poor dad, and the other from his best friend's father, whom he calls his rich dad. Both men greatly influenced his life, yet they held completely opposite views about working, earning, and living. Through their contrasting philosophies, Kiyosaki teaches valuable lessons about how to build real wealth and achieve financial freedom. The story begins in Kiyosaki's childhood. He grew up in Hawaii, where he was surrounded by families who lived comfortably but not extravagantly. His biological father, the poor dad, was a highly educated man, holding a PhD and occupying secure government jobs. He believed in the traditional route: study hard, get good grades, and find a stable job with benefits. He valued job security and thought that money was something you earned from hard work. However, despite his education and steady employment, he always struggled financially, living paycheck to paycheck. In contrast, Kiyosaki's rich dad, his friend's father, was a businessman with little formal education. He did not follow conventional schooling or seek safety in government work. Instead, he believed in entrepreneurship, financial knowledge, and making money work for him. He taught Kiyosaki to question common assumptions about money, to challenge the belief that you must work for money, instead learning how to make money work for you. This fundamental difference in outlook forms the core of the book's message. According to Kiyosaki, what separates the rich from the poor and the middle class is not necessarily how much they earn, but how they think about money. Poor and middle-class people often work for money and then spend it on liabilities, things that take money out of their pocket, such as expensive cars, gadgets, or consumer debt. The rich, on the other hand, focus on acquiring assets, things that put money into their pocket, like investments, real estate, or businesses. Understanding this difference between assets and liabilities is perhaps the book's most central lesson. Kiyosaki repeatedly emphasizes the importance of buying income-generating assets to build long-term wealth. Throughout Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the author highlights that financial literacy is often neglected in traditional education. Schools teach students how to read, write, and do math, but they do not teach how money truly works. As a result, many people, even those with university degrees, end up trapped in a cycle of debt and financial insecurity. Kiyosaki argues that people must take responsibility for their own financial education. He stresses that learning how to manage money, invest wisely, and understand the language of finance is far more valuable than relying on job security alone. Another key idea in the book is that fear and greed often control people's relationship with money. Poor Dad's mindset reflected fear of losing money, of taking risks, of facing failure. Because of this fear, he always played it safe, sticking to conventional jobs and hoping his boss or pension fund would provide stability. Rich Dad, however, encouraged Kiyosaki to overcome fear with knowledge and courage. He believed that risks are part of life, and that mistakes are opportunities to learn. According to him, financial freedom is possible only when we overcome fear and start making informed, bold decisions. Kiyosaki also points out the power of self-discipline. The rich remain rich, he says, not because they earn more, but because they manage their money wisely. They resist the temptation to spend recklessly and instead reinvest their earnings in assets. He introduces the concept of pay yourself first, meaning that one should first set aside money for savings and investments before paying bills or indulging in luxuries. This principle builds financial discipline and fosters a mindset of long-term growth. The book also encourages readers to recognize opportunities and think creatively. Rich Dad taught Kiyosaki that the world is full of people who say, "I can't afford it," while the rich ask, "How can I afford it?" That shift in questioning encourages problem-solving and creativity. Instead of feeling helpless about financial limitations, Kiyosaki suggests finding innovative ways to increase income and create value. Entrepreneurship, he argues, is one of the most powerful ways to achieve financial independence. Another significant lesson is that working solely for money limits personal growth. Rich Dad taught that the purpose of working should be to learn, not just to earn. For example, a person might take a job in sales to develop marketing skills, even if it pays less, because those skills can later be used to start a successful business. This idea highlights the value of gaining diverse experiences and learning practical skills that can later translate into greater financial rewards. The author also challenges the notion of relying on employers or governments for security. Through his experiences, he shows that job security is an illusion if one lacks financial intelligence. Promotions and pay raises may increase income, but they also increase taxes and expenses, trapping people in a never-ending cycle known as the rat race. To escape it, one must learn to create streams of passive income, money earned without continuous effort, such as through investments or business ownership. This allows individuals to achieve financial independence and control their time, rather than trading time for money. By the end of the book, Kiyosaki emphasizes that wealth is not measured by income but by time. Specifically, how long one can live without working while maintaining their current standard of living. True wealth, therefore, is freedom, the ability to pursue one's dreams without being tied to financial constraints. It is about building a life where money serves you rather than you serving money. In conclusion, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is more than just a finance book. It is a guide to developing a mindset of abundance, independence, and courage. Robert Kiyosaki's two dads symbolize two worlds of thought, one bound by traditional education and fear of risk, and another driven by financial literacy, growth, and self-reliance. The lessons from Rich Dad are as relevant today as they were when the book was first published. In a world where financial uncertainty continues to rise, this book reminds us that education is power, but financial education is freedom. It teaches that we don't have to be born into wealth to become rich, and that anyone can gain control over their financial destiny with the right mindset and knowledge. Success, as Kiyosaki shows, is not about what we know from school, but about what we learn in life, how we apply that knowledge, and how we make our money work for us. Thank you.